Hi there folks, Colin here from the Nearly Men Video Games podcast, and I have got a brand new review for you. Epic fantasy is everywhere these days in pop culture. We've got The Hobbit, we've got The Lord of the Rings, we've got the Warcraft movie, and of course the one and only Game of Thrones. In the video games world, we're talking The Elder Scrolls, Skyrim, Oblivion, Dragon Age, and of course, for my money, the daddy of them all, The Witcher 3. Yes, it seems that swords, shields, castles, horses, knights, mythical beasts and magic go hand to hand. But what if there was an RPG that decided to dispense with the magic and the mythical beasts and instead focus on grit, realism, and above all, historical accuracy? If that sounds interesting to you, then I have got the game just for you. Kingdom Come Deliverance is an open-world RPG from Warhorse Studios that sets you into the world of the 15th century Kingdom of Bohemia, the modern-day Czech Republic. Warhorse Studios launched a Kickstarter in 2014, promising to deliver a game that was different from all the other RPGs out there. They were originally looking for £300,000 to get themselves started. Well, the people listened, the people were impressed, and in the end, they actually ended up being back to the tune of £1 million. An excellent start. And of course, with such a promising beginning, the pressure was really on. So, what have Warhorse managed to do in the time between 2014 and now the release in February of 2018? Let's have a look. You take on the role of Henry, a humble blacksmith's son from the town of Skalitz in Bohemia. The story itself, whereas I don't want to tell you too much about it because there's various twists and turns and all sorts of stuff, but what I will tell you is that it really does pack an emotional punch. Visually, Kingdom Come Deliverance is a bit of a mixed bag, unfortunately. The open world really is stunning, and as I previously mentioned, one of my favourite games, The Witcher 3, what Warhorse Studios have done here is brought an almost CD Projekt Red level of attention to detail to their world. It is stunning at points, absolutely stunning, and you can tell that they really have put their heart and soul into this game. Where it does fall down a little bit is technically at the moment. It swings very, very quickly from something absolutely stunning, much like the forest. These forests are incredible to look at. They feel so alive and so interesting and so realistic. And then, unfortunately, you go into the more built-up areas where obviously the game's having to do a bit more. And unfortunately, you're getting some rather large levels of pop-in, unloaded textures, people appearing half naked, and then as you get there, their clothes load. It's a disappointing fact. This is something that Warhorse are working hard to rectify. There's been a number of patches already, and I know that they will manage to fix these eventually. However, at the moment, there is still a couple of issues which are bringing yourself out of the world, which at other points they've worked so hard to immerse you in. Obviously, what's become quite common now in these open world games is there are a number of bugs. Quest bugs, which have in times been a bit of a problem and then resulted in myself having to reload save games, and actually in the course of my about 60 hours playing the game, I believe I've lost somewhere in the region of 7 hours worth of gameplay by having to go back and reload save games. One in particular where I'd lost 4.5 hours of progress. Part of that was my problem, potentially not saving as regularly as I can. However, the game does have a rather interesting way of implementing save games that I'll come to later on, so I'm not going to take all of the blame for that. What I will say in Warhorse's defence is this is still a relatively small team working on this game. This is not Ubisoft or something that's got thousands and thousands and thousands of employees. This is a team who are working around the clock to put the game, to put their dreams into this game. And for the most part, they have achieved absolute wonders. It's just a pity that the odd little technical issues are just taking the shine off the game a little bit. However, the patches are starting to work, particularly quest bugs. They seem to be getting ironed out and fixed and squished, and hopefully the visual stuff will be next on the list. On the gameplay front, Kingdom Come Deliverance follows a fairly standard first-person RPG format. You know, so far, so Skyrim. But where it comes in a bit different is actually how it implements a number of the game features. You've got some really interesting stuff. The alchemy system is absolutely brilliant, but at the same time, not particularly easy to master, and it is quite time-consuming, which has obviously been a bold choice from the team to do that. One of the most interesting things in this is the day-night cycle of this game. Everything is running at a time, and I know what you're saying, well, we've all heard about a day and night cycle before. Absolutely, this is not an uncommon thing, but what is different about Kingdom Come is how it uses this day-night cycle. For example, if you go to some local lord who instructs that you're going to go out on patrol with his soldiers, for example, or go for a hunt, you will be told, meet at daylight the next morning, or first light the next morning. That doesn't mean that you can go and do 20 other things and then come back, and then as long as you go at the agreed time, the NPC will be standing there waiting for you. If he means daylight, he means daylight, and if you don't go, the guy's going to leave without you. You'll fail the quest, and potentially you can face getting a pretty stern ticking off as well. Another interesting format is the way that the world interacts with you. Food will decay, it will rot, and you're going to have to keep yourself fed and watered to keep yourself alive. But that doesn't mean just going through your backpack and just eating anything you've got. As I said, food will go off, and take it from me, it's not something to disregard. I ended up eating a mouldy bit of bread and then faced the rather agonising slow death of food poisoning. I had no antidote, I had no way to heal myself, and I died. Yep, piece of bread. Of course, certain aspects of this can be mitigated by perks. As the game goes on, you can get certain perks that allow you to get around things like that. A particular perk I used was Human Dustbin, which meant that I didn't have to start looking at all my best before dates on my food, but what it did mean was that I then couldn't get the benefits of eating particular types of food. So it was a bit of a trade-off. And the perk system in the game really works in that way. You'll quite often find a perk that will give you an advantage in one way, but it'll almost certainly have a con to the other side of things. And it does give you a chance to actually build your character the way you want to play the game. It's really good fun, but it is an incredibly dense setup, and it does take a bit of getting used to. Now, so far I've been talking about a lot of these aspects of the game that I really, really like. The pocketing's great fun. The alchemy is absolutely brilliant. It's something completely different from other games, and I kind of want to let you explore that on your own, because it is really good fun. One aspect which unfortunately is not fun at the moment is the lockpicking. The lockpicking is a nightmare on PS4. I was playing with the day one patch. It was incredibly hard to use, particularly in your lower levels of lockpicking. You would break pads, you would break your lockpicks, you would be bending your thumbs in all sorts of ways, and unfortunately, even with the later releases of patches, which did address the lockpicking because Warhorse were aware of it, and it certainly helped a little bit, unfortunately the actual control system for the lockpicking is still a bit of a nightmare, and it does feel a bit of a battle as to whether, you know, what's going to break first, your lockpick or your thumbs. Disclaimer, I did not break my thumbs. Combat was one of Warhorse Studios' main selling points when first pitching the game in 2014. They really wanted to have a combat system that set the game aside from the usual hack and slash RPGs, and for the most part, it is a massive success. The fighting system is intricate and incredibly deep. It can feel rather overwhelming from start, and certainly the early parts of the game, there is a very steep learning curve. You know, prepare to die a lot. But then we shouldn't really be surprised. If this is the kind of game where you can die from eating a bit of mouldy bread, then it's understandable that once sword fighting comes into it, that potentially you are going to run the risk of dying a few times. So, as I've said, the combat system is very deep, and there are a lot of aspects to it which you're going to have to learn if you want to effectively win duels and win battles in Kingdom Come. However, I found out that actually the system can be quite tricky, and sometimes there are better ways to approach said battle. So, to demonstrate, I've got my fellow nearly man, Mr. Paul Kaczynski here, to help me out. So, the kind of prescribed combat system, the way that Warhorse kind of wanted you to do it, is very much attacking key areas of your enemy. So, you're going to attack up here, you might attack down here, you might stab forward. Obviously, your opponent will also block to certain areas. If he blocks to a particular area, you might want to move your weapon to the other side and attack his less guarded side. Now, this is a great system, and when it works, it really works. It can be brilliant fun, and it makes these battles absolute poetry in motion. However, it is incredibly hard to get right, and you're going to die an awful lot. And actually, I found that sometimes when it came to actually fighting groups of enemies, or even just one particular tough enemy, that another approach was a wee bit more effective. So I will now demonstrate Colin Little's patented approach to combat in Kingdom Come Deliverance. So, he will approach said enemy. He will either have his weapon drawn, or he might not even have drawn it at this point. This is a key moment in the fight, and your approach is going to have to be, well, you're going to have to get it just right. I will now demonstrate said approach. Paul is the assailant. I will approach, weapon drawn, obviously, and then you're going to go like this. Yeah, like that. So, in closing, Kingdom Come Deliverance is really an RPG like no other. It is incredibly deep, it's incredibly dense, and you can just tell that Warhorse Studios have poured their blood, sweat and tears into it. Their attention to detail is absolutely brilliant. The combat system is incredible, the story is just a wonderful departure from the usual RPG fare. Features some really brilliant scenes, some great set pieces, a really interesting cameo as well, and of course a night out in the town with a priest that you will never ever forget. It does take the odd misstep, which is always going to happen when the developers have made such bold choices. There really is not going to be for everyone all the time. This is a game that gives the player a bit of credit, sometimes too much credit, that you're going to be able to figure all this out on your own. However, if you put the work in, if you put the hours in, you're going to have one of the most rewarding experiences playing a video game you have had for a long time. And as I said, the odd bug and visual defect aside, this really is a brilliant game that is well worth your time. It's a lot of fun, and I can't wait to get right back in there and play through it all again, which is something I don't say regularly, but this is a game that is worth having an hour shot at, and I am looking forward to seeing you all out there on the battlefield. Thanks for watching, guys. Hi. Can I have an ambulance, please? Okay. Yep.
I am Sir Mark Vart von Aulitz. I come in the name of Sigismund of Luxembourg, King of Hungary and Croatia, to restore order in the name of his brother, King Wenceslaus IV.
fighting. Now look at me. Standing up to evil isn't the same as sowing its seeds. You did what was right.
Thanks for watching our review of Kingdom Come Deliverance. My name's Colin. That's Paul Kaczynski. We are the Nearly Men Video Games Podcast. You can find us on iTunes and at www.thenearlymen.com. And please don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube by hitting the button here. Thanks very much, guys. We'll see you again soon.